Chapter 20, part 2. I feel and I understand that I have to insist more on the subpersonalities because I think that it's very hard for a lot of people to understand completely what it means. A subpersonality, therefore, is, as I explained, a personality that is hidden. That's why we call it sub, like subway. And this subpersonality will wait a time of glory to be able to act, like being a teacher, like being married. For instance, something that is very classical, you are going to be a woman quite well balanced, but you suffered a lot as a kid. And you have a subpersonality about the wedding, about the couple position. But now you are going to experiment your own life. And you will be nice and cute and pleasant and even hot. And then you meet somebody and you're perfectly fine. And then you live with this guy for 2, 3, 5, 6 years. It's perfectly fine. And one day you get married. And that is the time of glory for your subpersonality that was created with the structure of the wedding with your mother and father. It's the official couple, the official position. Now that you're back into that, your subpersonality becomes the main personality that we could call the sub-fac personality. Or fake, I'm going to be more polite, the sub-fake personality. We could compare this to, for instance, when you have the story of Robin Hood, and there's the king that was captured in Israel, wherever, and there's a fake king that is going to take the control to impose taxes and so on, and you will have Robin Hood that is hiding in the forest and fighting for justice, democracy, and brotherhood. We could say that when your subpersonality, when your subpersonality takes the control, that is your fake personality takes the control, your real personality will become Robin Hood, will hide in the forest, and would try maybe sometimes to do an action. But in front of the king, of course, it's not a lot. In front of the army of the king, the power of the kingdom, it's not a lot. Sometimes, or very often, in the sub-fake personalities, Robin Hood is even killed or is put in jail. He cannot act anymore. He has no one left anymore. He is alone. He has even lost his bow. When you have a Robin Hood who is acting, it means that you are having a crisis. Sometimes you are the sub-fake personality, and sometimes you go back to your real personality, that is Robin Hood. But it's a war, where most of the time your real personality is hiding, and sometimes even totally destroyed. Understanding that, you have to understand that you are not demoniac because you're in this position. You are just a human. And that is what's happening to the world everywhere around you. So what do we have to understand from that? It is that when I speak about the surrounding, that will inject the power, the knowledge that you have to respect according to the society. It is not a society of real personalities, of real entities that are the extension of the souls, of the light, of God. There are fake personalities that are coming from traumas, from violence, from sadness, from frustrations, from everything that you can imagine. So that the real king of the place is captured somewhere else, and a fake king will take the control. We could say that the Robin Hood would be like, some bad feelings that you could have regarding the actions that you have from time to time. There's something coming back and say, I'm really too dark now about this or that. that would be the position of your sub-fake personality taking the control, and Robin Hood trying to fight, to react. You know, when I was a kid, I thought that it was Robin Wood, because the guy was living in the forest, so it could have been Robin Wood. But it is Robin Hood. And what does it mean, Hood? Hood means brotherhood, fraternity. So it's not for nothing if you have the fake king who is torturing everybody and Robin Hood that is fighting for the truth. Is always working with a bow, which is the symbol of love, as we have in the image of some angels and so on. So it's really the best image you could get. And the people who have been educating you, that is to say, frustrating you, terrifying you, manipulating you, obliging you to believe in stupidities, in the church, in that or that or that, in politics, in so many stupidities, they are going to frustrate you so much that at one point, the real king of your existence disappears. And you have instead a fake king, a sub-fake personality that will come and steal the throne. When you start to understand who has been educating you, you understand who you became. What you were at the beginning, when you were a kid of 3 to 4 years old, that's really the real king, the real love, the real goodness, and everything that you can manifest. But after that, surrounding by this darkness, surrounding by the national programming, which is the superego, which by definition is the superego, is the extension of the sub-fake personality, because your superego, the national programming, cannot be in any way the extension of your real king, of your real ego, because you have to see the king has a crown, and the crown was the image in the symbol to protect the 7th chakra that we call the crown chakra. It's not for nothing, where you were supposed to receive the intuitions from God. So in the reality, in the real essence, the king was the inspired person who was leading the control to go towards a real evolution. The king was not at all in the past, in the real teaching, because in the past, yes, they were all fascistic people and so on. But in the real teaching, in the real spirit, the king was supposed to be somebody inspired, like Saint Louis, for instance, if you know, from France, who was well known to be wise and to pray and to refuse the money, the power, and so on. So that is more or less who you are in a sense. But you received a conditioning from the national programming, that is the superego, that is organized by the power, by the masters of the world, by the masters of your country, and that is stimulating your sub-fake personality and kicking out your real essence, your real personality. When you are young, you have love, empathy, compassion, and even worse, you have memories, all of you. You remember some stuff, and if this stuff had been recognized, you would have been discovering that at least 1 or 2 of you could remember pretty well your past lives. But every time that you started to speak about things like this when you were a kid, you were said, stop your stupidities, finish your work, eat your food. And through that, you started to learn that you are rejected, that you're stupid, that you're idiot, because you are talking about something that doesn't exist. Imagine a world, a society, where the love doesn't exist. Then one day, I start to speak about my love for Christina. And in this society, everybody would say, the poor guy is crazy. He's talking about something that doesn't exist. This is what you learn, all of you, when you're a kid, when you have an intuition, when you have an inspiration. And through these first traumas, rejections, frustrations, you start to educate your subpersonalities that will take the control, sometimes in a special situation, as I said about the wedding, or very often in the complete situation. How many people are still living with the real king? The king being the domestic of God, because a king always introduces himself as being the servant of God, of the divine will. Even if most of the time in this story, it was far from being that in reality. But in the inspiration, in the essence, it was this. So most of the people, it's 99.99% of the world, there are only fake personalities, fake kings. How many are the Robin Hoods? Maybe 10% of these people. So you have 90% of the world, they are totally controlled by the fake personalities, by the fake kings. In 10% of them, there's also Robin Hood, resisting, fighting. And in 0.01%, the real king is in position, being the servant of the light. So of course, when we're with the light, you feel isolated. And this is why you have to gather with people who are behaving like you, or at least who are fighting very hard with the help of Robin Hood, or being completely in control by the real king, that is the servant of the soul, of the light. There's an example to show you this situation. There's a girl called Till Swan Scott. And this woman, she's followed by millions of people. And this poor girl is completely sick. She's completely lost. She's extremely unwell. She was scarifying herself. She followed years of therapy. So as a person, well, from where she comes from, she's managing quite well, because she was totally destroyed and she could rebuild something which is already fantastic. And that is about her. There's no problem. I mean, she has still a lot of problems. When you listen to her, when you see how she's talking or she's moving, she has a lot of problems. But who would say that wouldn't have problems coming from such a childhood? No, where I reject completely Till Swan Scott, it is that she is like a sort of guru. She is teaching to people, you know? And that is really, really sad. Because, of course, somebody with such a way cannot guide the others. Already, she is able to deal a little bit with the life, which is already a miracle. But when you look at her, when you listen to her, she's obsessed about herself. Her feelings are the most important of the world. So even if everybody dies around her, as long as she feels fine, everything is fine. She's talking only about stupidities. She is the absolute manifestation of a fake queen, a sub-fake personality, a mountain of traumas, limitations, fears, frustrations, and everything else. That's why now she wants to be hot, cool, fantastic. And every time that you have a presentation about her, it's light, it's flames, it is shining, it's glittering, it is, and then you have introductions. I saw a guy was introducing her. He was obliged to read a complete page about her divinity. Absolute divinity. I mean, compare it to her, Jesus Christ, he can go back on his cross, you know, he can't forget it. There is no competition. And this woman, she's followed by millions of people. And the quantity of the people who are following her is demonstrating the fact that in these people, in this quantity of people, you have the complete proof that the fake kings and queens are controlling everyone. You could call them Goa'ulds. If you go to see the film, the series Stargate, they are really Goa'ulds. They are not you. They are what you had to become to survive in a world of fake kings and queens. You were obliged to surrender and to put down your weapons and to give the throne to a fake king or a fake queen so that you could survive in this fake humanity. And this is why this lady is followed by millions of people, knowing that the millions of people who are following her are the people who are still somewhere wandering. So they are the elite of this humanity. The others, they're even laughing at Till Swan Scott, because they say, my business, my car, my house, everything is perfect. I don't give a fuck about this lady. And even the people who are turned to her, somewhere there's a Robin Hood, but the poor Robin Hood is very ill. You know, he has a very bad fever and he's a bit in delirium. But there's a little something reacting. Maybe something could be better. But the path they follow, they are attracted to, is like looking a path of light, because she speaks about something a little bit positive, but you have to be really drunk to find that positive. Somewhere in the middle of your crisis, you are very high, but not high to the light. High, high as a kite. And from this point of view, while you're flying in the wind with your rope that is holding you to the floor, it seems a little bit positive. And this is showing. And that's why it's so hard to take back the control of your existence, to accept with humility, to have the power to be a servant of your soul, a servant of your light, a servant of the love, of the truth, of the wisdom. Of course, it's very hard because everything in your education will push you away from that. And of course, it's very hard because everyone around you will tell you what's happening. You're crazy, you're wrong, or you're part of a sect, of a cult. And once you understand a little bit, try to remember, and you will see that when you were young, you were very close to the truth before being invaded by the national conditioning, the school, the church, the fears, the guilt, the darkness, the traumas, the betrayances of people and so many other things. So yes, I know that it is logical that you gave up and that you gave the power to a sub-fake personality. But there's another possibility, a possibility of power, a possibility of peace, where you are one with yourself and one with your soul, with the light. Develop the power and the courage to be a king or a queen of peace and truth, controlling, guiding a marvelous kingdom. And you being the king of this kingdom, but being with humility the servant of the soul, the servant of God. And in your kingdom, within yourself and around you, exists only power, love, peace, and harmony. That's what I wanted to explain a bit further, to help you to understand completely what I explained from before. Thank you.